Greetings. Welcome back to my channel. I have a cold, so forgive me, but I've been thinking about this a lot, especially since there's been so many subscribers, new subscribers from the interviews with Nicholas Schreck. And I want to continue some of those ideas that were brought up with Nicholas from both interviews. And an important one to me is the left-hand path. I really agree with him that this new form of Western so-called left-hand path has left a lot to be desired. I've been on the Western left-hand path, and I think that there's some great aspects to it. Independency, creativity, empowerment that can work. There's a lot of positive things to it. But if you step back with looking at traditional left-hand path from Tantra, from the Tantric, where it came from, and then how it got, let's just say it, pretty well distorted in the West. Now, what's the issue? In traditional left-hand path, that it's the same goal as right-hand path. So we are trapped in the matrix. We are in the samsara, which is this cycle of rebirth that we can't get out of because of our delusions and karma. So the goal is to be liberated from that. This is sort of, a Buddhist thing. And Tantra goes to Tibetan Buddhism. So in this age of Kali Yuga, where lifespans are shorter, the karma is very bad, the whole world is crumbling, the traditional right-hand path, which is more about revering the gods and the concepts of truth and compassion and a more quiet method, versus Tantra, which is much more confrontational. And what I love about it is you're using the world of illusion and these terrible gods and demons or whatever to kind of shock you out of delusion. So using delusion to escape delusion in a way. And it's faster. So in today's attention spans of TikTok and all of that, it might be more appropriate than the right-hand path. But understand, in traditional right-hand path versus left-hand path, the system from the East, from centuries ago, it's the same path. It's the same goal. Different paths to the same goal. They intersect to liberate from that. In Western, the left-hand path became evil or edgy, and the right-hand path is termed as, basically lumped in, Buddhism, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, all of that is right-hand path. You're subservient to God. You're conservative. You go along with society. If you're born a Catholic, that is your religion and you believe it because you've been indoctrinated. Basically, you're a weak sheep, right-hand path. You're looking for help from a higher power because you're weak. But left-hand path in the Western, you're on your own. You're a tough guy. And, you could see through all these stupid Christian BS stuff, right? that puts you on this path of more ego. I become the deity. That jackass J.S. Garrett offered to make things worse for me and tie me to the earth with his deification ritual. He offered for free. I think it's like $1,200 or $800. I don't know, whatever the hell ripoff fraud that is. But what happens is, and I don't know, maybe that deification can. I don't know how you're deified, how you're a god. All you're doing is getting more tied down to the illusion of this world. And that's what attracts narcissists and psychopaths. Now, I'm not saying every left-hand path practitioner is like that. I mean, I've interviewed Mitch Horowitz. He's a big advocate of, and check out that interview. He's a big advocate of Western left-hand path. And he disagrees with Nicholas Schreck. He finds it the empowerment and the dynamics and the independence and creativity in that outweighs the risks of becoming an egomaniac. And I think he's okay with some egomania. But when you really start digging, when you confront people from become a living God, like I have, and interacted with them, when you research and find these horrible offshoots of Order of Nine Angles, which are using the Western left-hand path symbolism and ideas to hurt and kill children and animals. That is where some of that can go when you don't have those traditional guardrails, right? Of compassion, of a goal to escape and be liberated from this messed up place. And if you're in the Tibetan tradition, come back as a bodhisattva and help others. No, pardon me for any mispronunciations, anything I'm saying that's not true. I'm a beginner in traditional Tantra, in traditional Buddhism. Just so people know, I have taken the Buddhist vow. I am a Buddhist. I've been working with Nicholas Schreck for 6 months. Not to be a Buddhist. Actually, I was interested in learning his style of magic. And through that, a lot happened. And I have, he gave me the Buddhist vows. I have been adhering to that. And that is my path. It came about after a lot of work and self-discovery and exploration and dealing with reality and learning. Once I was better from some depression, like 6 months ago, I did videos on this. Once my mind was cleared enough where I could actually start meditating and go deeper, and I had some insights about my mind, the world, and even Nicholas Schreck, and when you're ready, the teacher appears, right? So he's helped me a lot, and he's helped his channel a lot. So I am a beginner Buddhist. So if I say anything, take everything with a grain, but do look it up. And these videos are helping me to articulate what I'm learning and try to help people in any way I can to break them from any delusions from Western distortions of left-hand path. Because in the end, I think it's a waste of time. So we'll go into that. And again, I have a bad cold. Excuse me, my voice. Now, I created a little chart here. So differences between Western modern left-hand path and traditional. So first, the view of the self, the Western modern left-hand path, ego exaltation and self-deification. And we've seen that a lot. And from the temple of Set, you worship yourself. From Balg, become a living God. And I want to bring up what's funny. This E.A. Coetting, who has asked for my head through magic, wants me dead. Nobody brings up that he was a Mormon. And there's a strain of Mormonism, and I'm not sure if that's what he's from or if they all think this, but when the rapture comes and Jesus returns, they believe each Mormon, male I assume, will get his own planet to lord over as a living God. So that guy not only has had drug problems and asked for people to be murdered and is a real total POS. If you see some of his older, read some of his older writings under a false name, it's ultra violent. And he claims connection to the Order of Nine Angles, which is a disgusting organization. But on top of that, he's also just not original. Become a living God. Become a master of your own planet. Temple of Set. Become a living God. I spoke with Michael Aquino, and he was about, he was close to death, and said, death is not the end. You don't get the black sack over your head, and that's it. That this world is practice for you to become a god of your own universe. Okay. Now in Buddhism, cough drop, apologies. In Buddhism, what I love about it, we have all these gods, and Tibetan Buddhism in particular is fine with incorporating gods from different regions, different times. It doesn't matter. Gods are not the ultimate base reality. So yeah, okay, you become a living God. You've probably been a true God. In Tibetan Buddhism, gods die. And quite often there's such a, they can become so terrified that they're sent to lower realms. Well, from what I've learned, being a human is the best middle ground between the demons and ghosts and the gods, because we the gods have it so good and have so much power. Some of them are deluded and think they created the world, like Yahweh. And this is kind of strange speaking about, but gods have karma. They're still trapped in samsara, just like you and me. But because they're truly so powerful, there's even more delusion for them than us. So becoming a living God in Buddhism, you're still failing. That's just worse. You're worse than a human, because it's going to be harder for you to escape, right? If you have any questions, please participate. If you want to send some money, do that as well. It truly helps support me. Now, as you see, I've got my Thanga, my Tibetan Buddhist altar, Buddha with the 7 candles. And over here is you can't really see Set because he's a black statue, my Setian altar. And I've got my skeleton is a reminder of death and life. Live in this moment. Death can come anytime. So that's why he's dressed. He's got his Gucci hat. He's part of this world. My wife washed it, and now it doesn't fit my big head anymore. The cool sunglasses, flowers grow, He's got the Hawaiian shirt, go on vacation to my favorite place, Hawaii, in his shorts. This is a memento mori, a reminder of death for me to get at it and get to work. So, yeah, become a living God. That's Buddhism goes further. And we can use these gods and, be thankful to them and for the positive gods to increase our karma, to help us on our journey to liberation. We can also use wrathful gods or real demons to shock us, to use this world to break the norms, to also help us. And that's where Tantra comes from. So anyway, the view of self in Western modern left-hand path is ego exaltation, self-deification. And from my point of view, that's not a good goal because you're just getting more and more entrenched and trapped in this world. This world you need to be liberated from and then come back and help others. That's my path anyway. And I encourage you all to look at it. So the traditional tantric left-hand path would be a disillusion of ego into ultimate reality. And it's not about have no ego and I'm a calm, blah, blah, blah. It's Buddhism is about balance. So it's not, oh, kill your ego and have no thoughts when you're meditating. No, have a balance. Have your thought, but don't get attached to it. Have a sense of self and have a good ego that helps you toward the big goals. Don't get attached to your ego so much that you're even more deluded, right? It's about balance. And so it's a practical, I'm not out to destroy my ego. That means that the ego has even more power. It's like, yeah, there's my ego. It can come and go. In terms of sense of self, for me, the best cliche or analogy is a candle flame. And what's the third concept beyond being and beyond non-being? I'm just seeing a question here. Beyond being and non-being. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure what you mean. I'm not going into if you're talking about emptiness, where something seems to exist, but behind it is nothing. It's dependent on everything else. That if you're talking about that at all, this might connect what I'm talking about with the self. So the candle flame idea, it's constantly in change. And when it goes into, based on its karma, a new life, that's like using one flame to light another, and then that goes out. Is it the same flame? It's connected, but totally different. So the Buddhist idea of self is that the self doesn't exist in any form where it's like solid, like here is Brad. Well, here's a chunk of Brad. There's that river. Well, I grabbed that water, so I've got that river. No, it's constantly changing. There's the flame. Let's take that. That is that flame. It's changing constantly so much, and it's connected to so many other things. It's not dependent in and of itself. Think of a rainbow. You can see a rainbow. The rainbow does exist due to temporary conditions, the moisture in the air, the time of day, the light, the cloud cover, your position to it. You move a certain way and the light's refracting differently and the rainbow can disappear. So that rainbow exists in your mind with many conditions that are ephemeral and in flux, constantly changing. You can't go up and grab a piece of rainbow, roll it into a ball, and play catch with it. As you move, the rainbow might even disappear. So that's sort of the view of self that I'm understanding. Who were you? Are you the same person as an embryo, as 3 years old, as 20 years old? Will you be the same person at 90? Is that, or is it so transformed it might as well be a different person? So when you say I become a living God through this new modern left-hand path, where is the you? See, Buddhism is challenging. It's kind of annoying. That know-it-all that just keeps, where'd that come from? Where'd that, like a child asking, where does this come from? Where does that? And you finally get to, I don't know, or nothing. Living in that reality, I think, is an understanding of Buddhism. So it's not that you're transforming yourself, it's seeing that yourself is an illusion, or more like a rainbow or candle flame. There is something there, but it's constantly in flux so much the minute you try to pinpoint it, it's already changed. And it's dependent on everything else around it. So where does the things that it depends upon, the conditions, and you begin? It all blurs. Where are you in that mess? The goal of the practice of Western modern left-hand path is empowerment and individual freedom. You are that living God. You can do what you want. The goal or practice of the traditional left-hand path is liberation, moksha, from rebirth, as I've stated. So from my point of view, the original Tantra, the goal, the whole point of Tantra is to be liberated from this cycle of rebirth, which causes suffering and unpleasantness. The whole goal of left-hand path is to be liberated. The whole goal of right-hand path is to be liberated. So they're just different methods toward the same good goal. But this is where the huge problem with Western left-hand path comes through, because their goal is not to escape. In fact, it's the opposite. It's to become more entrenched in this world, in that cycle, become more materialistic, become more powerful. These are all earthly things. When I talk from the point of view of a Christian Gnostic, which I still am, that is empire. That is how this world works. There's nothing special or magical about wanting to become a rich asshole, is there? That's what everybody wants. So these people are taking the left-hand path, twisting it, and bringing it to destroying it, really, by the practitioners get more stuck into the world, into this fake dream of illusion and suffering. How can that be justified? Now, deities and spirits, there's a lot of channels with dealing with demons, and I've dealt with those people. I've been attacked multiple times, magically, criminally, by these people. And they are obsessed with they want to be possessed. They use demonic imagery to intimidate, to seem edgy. So what's really going on here from a real left-hand path point of view? So the Western modern left-hand path, often demonic, satanic, or invented archetypes. In traditional left-hand path Tantra, these demons, they're wrathful. There's wrathful and peaceful deities rooted in authentic traditions. So there's no question if something exists or not. There's not much of a question. What people have to understand is these demons, these deities, they can lie, and lower form energies, egregores, they might even think they are Belial, even though there's no authentic, real Belial or Baphomet. There's no true, that's mistranslations and personifications of ideas turned into a so-called demon in Christian 1700s grimoires. So we know that's made up. There are people blatantly calling forth Cthulhu, H.P. Lovecraft, fictional characters. This comes from chaos magic, but in traditional left-hand path, like this figure that I've been working with, they're real. And in the tradition I'm in Buddhism, you can't do everything. You can't interact with these gods willy-nilly. You need special empowerments from legitimate lamas. A lineage has to empower you to work in certain visualizations with these gods and goddesses. So that helps safeguard you from these fake demons. Your guru, your teacher can help you and recognize if you're being led astray. Now, if we look at people on YouTube supposedly calling these demons and all that, I think they're all deluded. They're calling on demons that don't really exist, that have no tradition, that were made up. And if you just do a little research, you can see they were made up. It's nothing special. But the problem is they are getting some results. They are encountering supposedly these demons. And I'll give them that benefit of the doubt. They are. But it's lying. It's not Belial. It's something else. Do you want to mess with these things that you don't even know what they are? It's like going out and into the woods and eating mushrooms with no idea which is poisonous, which is edible. And these guys are so confused. There might even be, like a ceramic decorative mushroom in somebody's yard, and they can't tell the difference between that and even a real one or a poison one. That's how bad it is. It's hard for me to take any of these guys too seriously. So please really consider when you're dealing with left-hand path. You're here, you're watching this. There are left-hand path channels of these guys supposedly doing magic and rituals. And when I was a boy, 9 years old or so, I had, and I've spoken about this, in a demonic probably encounter, a suitcase under a bed, swung up from under the bed, swung back as if by an arm, and shot at me across the room, slammed into a wall next to me. That's what, and a few years later in middle school, goofing around, trying to trap Asmodeus in a circle of salt. And what happened was me and my friend, we had skipped school. We were alone in a basement and did this ritual to trap Asmodeus, which we had contacted through a Ouija board, as teens do. I don't even know if we were teenagers yet. But anyway, someone broke into the house apparently and was stomping like a 300-pound man with military boots, stomping across the floor, our ceiling, because we're in the basement. We thought someone broke in the house. We got weapons. My friend still remembers this. We ran upstairs. I mean, it was stomping as hard as you could. All the doors still locked, all the windows locked, no one there. So that's I don't see orbs in videos, and I don't have visions of, I saw a demon in a light fixture, or I heard in my head, this demon spoke to me, or this spirit, I had a vision in a dream. That stuff can be good. I'm sorry, but that's like 101 kid stuff. To me, I grew up encountering these things. Why? Again, we go back to traditional Buddhism. Sorry, just answering this as well. So it's maybe the middle path, a balance between being and non-being. Yeah, it's really hard to explain emptiness. So look up Buddhist emptiness, Christopher, and try to wrap your head around it. I'm a beginner. I'm not qualified to go into those depths, except to say that emptiness is not nothing. It is something, but what it is sort of a, in the end, illusion. This world everything is contingent upon something else. And not only that, when you drill down into all those things, they don't really exist. And I think that some of quantum theory, quantum mechanics is starting to discover what the Buddhists have known for centuries. But anyway, so I have experienced these things, and there's been many other, maybe less dramatic, but maybe even more in depth. I had a vision of a mountain. And I heard Yahweh from the Bible. It was so intense, and I was in between sleep and dreaming, and I'm like, what the? And it just would not go away. And I can still. It was like the thunder was the voice of God in Hebrew, which I don't. I understand. I don't understand Hebrew, but I know what it sounds like. It was like as if you were a sound engineer and just barely blended someone's deep voice into actual thunder. It was terrifying. And the red light around the mountain, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not a Jew. I'm not into Judaism. This is bothering. I'm like, it will not go away. I don't know about you, what you do, So I know that Harvest Text, I highly recommend you do switch to Genuine Left-Hand Path. And please email me. I can help you a little bit, maybe. So anyway, I've had suitcases thrown at me and heard stompings. Maybe there's some, those are blessings to me. So I called a rabbi, and he happened to know a lot about Kabbalah and all that. And in Judaism, there is a tradition where you're reincarnated. And in fact, many people, even before they were born, somehow witnessed Yahweh on the mountain. And he thought, he said there were many Israelites, but also slaves from other countries that were not Israelites. And he thought that I was there. So I was at the Sinai event in a former rebirth. Do human ashes have energy in Tantra? I'm experiencing paranormal activity. Again, I'm not the best expert, but I do know that the Agori is an offshoot of Tantra, I believe. They're extreme. Now, these guys on these losers from Become a Living God, and they prick their finger and they're so edgy. Go look up the Agori who eat human corpses and human brains and walk around with human skulls and bury themselves in cremated ashes, because those ashes, they believe, have prana, of power. And so they're like vampires. They, instead of wasting the power that comes out of these burned bodies, they try to absorb it. So do human ashes have energy in Tantra? You're experiencing paranormal activity. That is a theory. It is possible. Please email me with details. I can't help you right here, but I'm willing to look at it and consult other experts if you're having some trouble, for sure. So that was a rebirth experience. And then I went into I happened to go into, bradashlock@gmail.com. I happened to go into what I thought was a Buddhist temple. I had a Thai girlfriend, and she was wanting to meditate. And we were in this place, and I was just acting natural, and people were kept looking at me, and I was walking around like I don't know, I just felt comfortable. And there were these giant, huge Buddhist statues, I thought, a red, angry one, a peaceful one, huge, like 3 times as life size. Yeah, Harvest Hex. Gnosticism is sort of a form of Western Buddhism in a way. The problem is that tradition was destroyed by the Christians. I tried working in it. There's just not enough safeguards. There's not enough gurus. There's not enough practice there. It's destroyed. So you might have to do what I did. You might have to do what Nicholas Schreck did and go into Tantric Buddhism. Look into that as an alternative. Again, happy to answer questions through email. So what was I saying? It turns out that this wasn't a Buddhist temple. It was a Taoist temple. And the master there, they called him the master. He blessed me and my girlfriend at the time. He later blessed me and my wife and her pregnant belly. But he had me sit with him. He didn't speak English, and it was translated. He said, you were a Buddhist monk 600 years ago, and you like to date and go after Asian women because you're trying to rebuild your Chinese family. Now, I'm not one of these people that I was King Tut, I was Caesar, I was Napoleon. Not much interest in any of these past life stuff. I think it's mostly garbage. But when spiritual masters from different traditions say, hey, you go back and you're religious, strong religious backgrounds in these practical things. Yeah, my emails, hold on. So this explains why it's easy for me to have spiritual encounters. I've been working on it through multiple through multiple rebirths, and I'm not making that up. Oh, I'm special. You all have had billions of lives. It's just that in the last few centuries, happen to be focused on some kind of religion thing that helps me right now. I don't have to work that hard to have an encounter with something divine. And that's why, I was like, I loved working with Nicholas Schreck. He's much more advanced than me, but he knows what it's like to have that karma that can allow that to happen. So I think there's people on YouTube trying to, like, they haven't really had a chance to encounter some of the things I have, yet they're acting like experts when they've never really done it. Why can't they? They're limited by their karma and past lives, and I'm not. I have other problems, and it's a responsibility. I have to share this. There's people that are going to, think I'm nuts. I don't care. So that gave an explanation to me of why dealing with these spirits for me is so different than what I've seen from these other so-called magicians, that I just see that I'm so much stronger than them, and maybe because they're so weak and fake, people they're having trouble too meeting gods or doing magic. So maybe that's attractive to them. I don't know, but that's where I'm coming from with it. And I do know those spirits, those demons from the Western Left-Hand Path, most of them are liars. So, and I've been deceived. I've been deceived. What do you do when you feel not empowered, and then you have success. I've contacted this demon and the spell worked, and I'm having dreams where I'm encountering it and it feels real. There's something weird in the dream, something alien. I am in contact with this demon. So you're feeling all empowered and you're feeling better than ever before, and things are working. How hard is it then to admit this thing's lying to me? And this gnosis, this initiation is not true. Boy, that's a big ask. You've got to already be quite self-aware and empowered enough already to not fall into that trap. So, that's really hard. And then that can set you back decades. It could set you back lifetimes. This is not messing around. Luckily, I was able to get out of it. That's why you need a tradition. Going off on your own with no teachers or very little, you're asking to be fooled. Yeah, see, I just can't get to that part of going beyond suspending disbelief. I don't have these sort of superstitious experiences. Well, right. And if that stuff didn't just come at me as a gift, I would be right where you are. I wouldn't believe. Yeah, I can't prove anything. I have one witness about that. It's experience. It's almost like talking about, having a encounter with reality through when you're at a Beethoven concert or something, listening to an orchestra, and you're like, how do you prove that you had that experience? So yeah, if you can't get here's the thing. In Buddhism, you don't need to do magic. Magic is a way to help cut through bad karma and obstacles, like through the Tantra, a tantric form of magic. It can increase your chances of getting past some obstacles, of making things happen that normally wouldn't. In Buddhism, yeah, matter itself is an illusion. There is no matter. Even scientists today, as you're drilling down beyond atoms, beyond quarks, beyond all of that, there's just empty space. What is it? Particles exploding out of nowhere from a what vacuum is that called in quantum mechanics? The something vacuum, the quantum vacuum. Anyway, there is nothing there. Now, in Buddhism, since this world is not real, that fits well with magic, because if it's not real, you can twist it a little bit, right? For what purpose? Not to become a living God, not to curse people, but to help liberate yourself. Now, maybe to help your liberation, you need some money to buy a car so that you could travel here and do a speech on Buddhism or whatever. If your goal is aligned with the bigger goal, I think that's ethical. And magic is a tool. Using, I hate to say using, but working with whatever gods or in these things, they're a tool, not for yourself, not to tie you down deeper, but to liberate yourself. Right. You are limited. Now, in Buddhism, you don't need to do magic. You don't need to work with deities. You could just work with the Buddha. What I recommend, if you're not depressed, if you're not on drugs, start meditating. You can have a little altar. I don't sit on the floor with crossed legs. I have bad knees. I'm a little overweight right now. I'm not doing that. I sit in a chair. Do what is comfortable. Meditation is not supposed to be some torture. Sit with your eyes open. Put your left thumb above your right and just in your lap, and try to sit like your body, like your shoulders are a coat hanger and your body's hanging on it. So I'm straight but loose. And keep your eyes open. Light some incense. You don't need a Buddha. This is annoying. You don't need a Buddha. If you're into Gnosticism, you can have a cross like I used to, or whatever is special to you. Maybe have 7 candles representing offerings, and light some incense. And try to sit for 10 minutes. And as thoughts come, visions come, think of them as clouds that form in the sky and then blow away. They come and go. And be centered on the watcher, the observer of these things. What is that? And just experience it. So you're sitting there and go for 10 minutes. You don't have to believe anything. You don't have to do magic. We first need to think of this as a technique to understand how your mind works. Your mind will work different than mine. What are the thoughts? What are the ideas? What are the visions that are coming through? The emotions, the anger, all that is happening like on a screen. And you are just the observer, right? And if you go, as you keep progressing with this, you'll start seeing that even that observer starts dissolving. So I would start there. And then if your mind is clear, you start understanding the world more, maybe that will open a door for you. And you don't have to go into magic, but maybe you'll find more of where you're supposed to go. So I'm a trans girl. We deaf are depressed. Oh, thank you, Ran Appreciator. I'm a trans girl. We definitely are depressed and doing some gardening. These streets are rough. Yeah, and talk about self-transformation and the flexibility of self. You're already living that in some ways, right? You aren't fixed as a person. Now, transforming the body, transforming your gender in terms of how society looks at what you are, all that, to me, that's still part of this world, part of the illusions of this world. You've taken the illusion of yourself and changed the illusion. It's still there as illusion. Now, if you want to go to the next level, that's transcending, seeing all of this as illusion. You can change yourself. You can get tattoos. You can get the horns on your head. You can whatever. That's still the level of this world, and that's not going to solve anything spiritually in and of itself. Yeah. Well, we're hanging out here now. Well, I am here to try to help people by sharing my story and letting people know I am a beginner, but this is what's true to me. And yeah, Nicholas Schreck gave me a Buddhist name, Chodrak, and that's about sort of sowing the seeds of Dharma, of Buddhism, spreading it and helping it grow, not only for myself, but I'm interpreting it as helping others. So that name, when I'm doing this, that's sort of who I am. It helps inspire me. Stoked to see. All right. So thanks again for the $10. Stoked to see the live. Hopped on late. Sorry if this has already been touched on, but why have you changed your altar and added an altar to Set? Also, what is your current work with Set like? Thanks. And thanks, Christopher, for watching the interviews. Yeah. So I've been since my interviews, my first interview with Nicholas Schreck. I've been working with him. I had major depression, and I wasn't working with him to become a Buddhist or anything. I wanted to learn his magical secrets. Like, what is he doing? I've been doing magic for decades, but how does he do it differently? And as some of you know from this, if you've looked at any of my older videos, I had my son was in danger in China medically. His appendix was about to burst. He could have died. And that led to all of this, where the occult was not doing it for me. It was not sturdy enough in times of real crisis. So I started looking at other things and going into sort of a radical theology form of Gnosticism. So I had a little altar, a Gnostic altar, and I was communicating strongly with Yahweh, not understanding too well that Yahweh, I love Jesus as a teacher, but Jesus, Gnosticism, in many strains of Gnosticism, is actually connected to Abraxas and not Yahweh. So that led to my dealings with Become a Living God. Yahweh was done with them, in my opinion, my feelings. And what I would do is I would open the Bible randomly and point to it, and was getting answers and communicating with not Abraxas, it was Yahweh, which I have connections to. In a past life, I believe, as a rabbi had mentioned, that I was at Mount Sinai during the Sinai event. So I have these strong Judaic connections. Anyway, through working with Nicholas Schreck, he wanted me to meditate. And I was trying to meditate, and I had a panic attack instead, a terrible one. And I almost went to the hospital. And he advised, he's not a doctor, but he did say, I think that you are terribly depressed. So I went to a doctor, and I was not suicidal at all, but on the extreme for anxiety and depression, non-suicidal. He recognized that. I couldn't meditate because I was so depressed. I can't sit for a long time because I haven't taken care of my body as I should. Meditation will point out your flaws right away. Breathing, just sitting there, if you're having trouble, those are indications of what you need to work on. I've got to lose weight. I'm doing that. I've got to every day meditate, and I've got a prayer I do 3 times a day. So, and as I get healthier, I will be able to sit longer in a lotus position. So all of this, I saw the darkness, the void in the fear from my son dying. And I eventually came to theories that that void, that absence, isn't a lack of God. That God needs that space so that we exist. Because if God was right in with us, we would be absorbed into that Godhead and destroyed. So God not being around is love. Because if he was here, we'd be destroyed. That space gave us freedom. So that was my idea of Gnosticism. And living next to that void. But then when I was, that helped heal me. That was enough to help heal me from the depression. And I was back, baby, which allowed me to meditate. And under Nicholas Schreck's guidance. And eventually I started seeing, wait a minute, that void, that dark, that emptiness isn't separate. Whoa, wait. We're part of it. And that started opening Buddhist doors. So we have great respect for Gnosticism. We are Gnostics. But unfortunately, the Christians destroyed the Gnostics. There's not enough there, Rain Appreciator. There's not enough there to build a life on. It's too broken up. There are aspects we can take. There are gods and ideas we can incorporate into our Buddhism, because Buddhism allows for these different gods because they're not the ultimate. Even the gods are stuck in the karmic cycle of rebirth and suffering, as I was saying earlier. So that's why Nicholas Schreck became, it's one of the reasons Nicholas Schreck became a Buddhist. The Gnosticism is too broken. You can't turn that into anything. Try, go ahead. But what happens is you're just like an occultist now, making up stuff. You need a tradition that is centuries years old, not decades. You need a teacher connected to a tradition that goes back to a master, Buddha. The real Jesus, the Gnostic Jesus, they're dead. It died. Sufism, Nicholas mentioned that as a path. Unfortunately, it's so misogynistic and anti-female, he was disgusted and left. So if you're, so I have taken the Buddhist vow a couple weeks ago through Nicholas Schreck. My name's Shodrak as a Buddhist, and that is to help sow the Dharma for myself and others. And in the Tantric Left-Hand Path tradition, we utilize why not use the gods? We give them dedication and compassion and love, and they can help give us blessings and help empower our magic. So I've been practicing magic for decades, and Set has always been my main power. So now I get to incorporate Set into my Buddhist practice here, and working with the Red Tara, this goddess. I'm not empowered to do some of the things I want to do yet. I have to meet a Lama. Nicholas Schreck is not a Lama. So that is why I've become a Buddhist from the Christian Gnosticism. I love Christian Gnosticism. Unfortunately, it's so broken. You just have to make shit up to make it work at all. And then you might as well just be a stupid occultist making crap up. It's not enough. So, and you don't have any guardrails or real teachers to say you're on the wrong track. That God is not real. That's an illusion, or it's a bad spirit lying to you. You don't have that. You're on your damn own. And no human is just powerful enough to do that, a normal human, to start going into it. So that's what I'm doing. I'm a Buddhist, but I incorporate gods like Nicholas Schreck into my practice. Thus, the two altars. I hope that helps explain any of it. So where are we? Those are the deities. Now also approaches to taboo, breaking the rules, right? This is the edgy thing that Western left-hand path people try to focus on. Now, again, go look up black magicians or sorcerer for hire, these bald people. They're so edgy and they cut themselves. Go look up the Agori. As I've mentioned, holy shnikes. That is edgy. That is life and death. That is breaking the norms. And the Buddhism is against the Agori. The Agori rely too much on horror. I mean, horror. Go look it up. Where they get attached to the darkness. And that is a form of attachment that can tie you to this world. Again, the middle path, you can have these terrifying goddesses with these angry faces. And I look these up. They've got skulls as necklaces. They're stomping on people. That represents your ego being stomped out. There's danger here. But I'm not smearing myself in excrement and eating brains from human corpses. All right. So these edgelords take this stuff, and because there's no higher level, no ethics, they haven't taken any vows to help people. They're just there for themselves. It's just a big child, a big egomania, narcissism. So where does the taboo breaking lead to? And that's when we get the two girls murdered in the park from the guy inspired by the Become a Living God EA co-wedding crap. That's where you get Order of Nine Angles and its offshoots, contacting children, having them, what's that? Magic Me has talked about this recently, his channel, Magic Me. There are people getting nudes from children, using that as blackmail to get them to cut themselves, to kill their animals. That's why I am so against these Become a Living God assholes. Well, I just pricked myself. I cut the head off a snake in a sacrifice and put it on YouTube. Pain and suffering will not lead to escape from pain and suffering. So this Western left-hand path, if taken to the extreme without the compassion element from real left-hand path, leads to this. Leads to murder, terrorism, child abuse through the internet. They have gotten children to kill themselves, torture their own animals on film and video, or they're blackmailed by the nudes that they got tricked into sending them in the first place. And Magic Me had said, please, if you have children, make them understand, do not send any, you've got to protect this. And this is real, and it's happening right now. That's why we have to go back to the real left-hand path and stop letting these bastards steal from the tradition to hurt people for their own sick, sadistic pleasure. I don't know what more to say about that. I'm just reading some of the notes here, or comments. Thank you, Rain Appreciator, and I appreciate the money sent through. It means a lot. So that is the shock value, where it leads to. So it can go from, turning a cross upside down, taboo. But when you keep pushing that without any guardrails, this is what you get. Look up Order of Nine Angles and its offshoots. This is real. These are there. It's a crime syndicate. It's a headless internet connected, disgusting occult related project. All right, let's move on. So how is that used in Tantra? We use these shocking, these, for instance, there's a practice. You have to have a guru. Don't do this on your own. They go into a graveyard at night that has had usually some kind of hauntings around it, by themselves in the middle of the night, alone in a graveyard. And they do a practice that they're trained in where they bring forth the demons through visions, where it's almost real. I guess it is real in a sense, as anything can be. And the demons rip their bodies apart in the haunted graveyard as a form of overcoming this illusion of self. You go into the ultimate fear, right? So what was awesome about real left-hand path, real Tantra, we take the darkness and delusion and wrath of this world and use it to help liberate ourselves, to help escape this world, with the idea of coming back to help others. So you're using darkness against darkness. It's quite powerful. But this fake left-hand path, these Western, they just use it to bring themselves lower into the world. It's a complete perversion. So that's what I'm fighting against. I think there was a distinction. I'm reading here, Harvest Hex. I think there's a distinction to be made between two major factions of Western left-hand path. Temple Satanism is pretty compassionate versus Church of Satan. Well, okay. You're talking about the Satanic Temple. To me, that's just a left-wing political organization using Satan to battle incursions into our freedom of religion, separation of religion and state. I don't think that's much of a spiritual path. I could be wrong, but about what you're talking about. Or are you talking about theistic Satanism? Either way, unless that is a misconception. Yeah, it might be. I've just seen its outer political. That seems to be its main goal. So, but hey, if it's Satanism in the form of this, what I see as using it for liberation and helping others in a limited extent, yeah, that's normal. I mean, Satan, as Nicholas Schreck explains in the videos, the interviews, and in his book, The Satanic Screen, Satan is he reports to Yahweh. He's a low-level, persecutor, accuser, and tempter working for Yahweh. He's not some powerful anti-God that you should be overly worshipful of. If you're against Christianity and all the conformity of that, Satan is just historically totally tied to it. And all this romantic stuff is just 1800s poetry. So that's my view of it. Now, liberation versus power, Western left-hand path, focus on worldly power, influence, and self-mastery, as opposed to focus on liberation. Any magical powers you get out of that are byproducts. They're not that important. And you're to use them to help others and yourself achieve liberation. Ethics, Western left-hand path, fluid, subjective, postmodernistic. Traditional, you're rooted in vows, precepts, guru, discipline, ethics. So you have guardrails, you've taken vows to help others. That will help you not, it doesn't guarantee, but it will help you not fall into hurting others with magic or other behaviors, or influencing. You are a representative of the Dharma. You have to be positive. So that's a big difference here. And another lack of any guardrails whatsoever, and why these people do such despicable things. Transmission and lineage. So with modern occult, self-initiated or loosely lineage-based, again, going back to Gnosticism, there isn't anyone there to help initiate you, to help be your guru. You're on your own. And that is a problem. You don't know it all. You need help. You need people that are beyond you, have been where you've been, that are ethical in a tradition that goes back centuries. Why? Because it's got a pedigree of working. It wasn't made up 50 years ago with no, it hasn't been tested through wars, hasn't been tested through internal battles of philosophy. By the time it goes through centuries, hopefully, if in your own insights, through your meditation, when you have a clear mind enough to say there's truth here and less so here, once you're in that, you want it to be a system that's been tested, proven over centuries, over lifetimes, through wars, through hardship, through famine. Those people survived and used these teachings to get through that. So when the shit hits the fan and hits you, you've got a real foundation, not a bunch of occult crap some guy made up because he likes to see girls run around naked in a witch circle or whatever the hell crap it is. You've got something more real. And believe me, when your cherished family members are in trouble, when you are on the verge of self-destruction, are you going to trust something made up by some guy, 60 years ago, 30 years ago, 10 years ago on the internet? So lineage, super important. Finally, ritual methods. Western modern left-hand path, ceremonial magic, chaos magic, psychodrama, and traditional Tantra, mantra, mudra, mandala, deity yoga, sexual yoga. I think the main thing with these rituals is one is geared toward making you a master of this world, which is saying making you a master of your delusions in this delusional world, as opposed to the other rituals, which are geared toward liberation from those delusions and trying to help others be liberated. So using magic, using rituals. Yeah, you might do a money ritual for the benefit in the long run of helping others. You need to eat. You need to, we are here in this delusion, in this illusion, in this video game, and we have to play by those rules. And it's okay to, get as much money as possible ethically and use some of that to liberate yourself and others. That is totally fine. Some questions here. They aren't LaVeyan Satanists, but they reference the Satanic Bible to help understand the left-hand path as a framework. Yeah, again, I just did this. My last video with Nicholas Schreck was all about Anton LaVey. I wouldn't bet my life on anything from that man. Please review that if you want, but it ain't pretty. Rain Appreciator again. What do y'all think is the optimal organizational pattern for spiritual practices of that are formally left-hand path, but still resonate with some left-hand path components? Have y'all found success in finding community? I think this channel is example of one such community and provides a framework for how, post left-hand. Exactly. So I've been in the Western left-hand path and I've got the light and I'm forming a bridge. And it's up to you to light your own candle or lantern and cross it. From what I have found, Gnosticism and those ideas are true, but there's no tradition to it. I have seen Nicholas Schreck's journey, and I had to, take up the challenge. Out of all the traditions, as someone who practices magic, as someone who is very drawn to using like sort of shock to wake up, that is pure Buddhist Tantra. I would explore that. Now, I've got to caution you, Rain Appreciator. There's this new thing relatively recently to me. It kind of blows my mind because I'm Gen X. I'm over 50 years old now. I never wanted to be in a community. Now, the Sangha in Buddhism, that's the community is a spiritual one. The Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, that's your community. It's not to go to the Buddhist temple and have coffee and sit together and feel, oh, aren't we so special? Nicholas Schreck hardly ever goes to those communities. He has told me. There's a local temple I've went to, and it's possibly that's where I got my gold. But beautiful, nice people, and yeah, that's fine. I would caution. There's this thing now where people are really focused on being part of a community. In my opinion, that comes from a little bit of fear and conformity, because we are so connected now through the internet. My son, for example, he needs connections. I was raised in the 80s. We didn't even have a computer. Our phones were on cords. There was no email. We were on our own. You get on your bike and go down the street, and maybe your friend's home, maybe he's not, and maybe you get chased by a kidnapper. No one cared. Hey, mom, bye. And you come home maybe a half hour after dark. You've been gone for, 10 hours. Sometimes you go by yourself. You're having your own adventures. Like this modern, I think it's from the internet. And Nicholas Streck had mentioned this, and I felt the same before I started talking with him. He hates the word community. Can't stand it. So I would separate those things, and I would, if you're like, I want a community, stop. That is not what this is about. We work together loosely, and happy to have if this forms a community, it's, to me, that's 1,000 down on the list. I don't care if you have a communal feeling. If you could take something here and it helps you, fine. But what happens is the community starts getting more important than the real goal, which is to escape all communities, to escape all delusions. Community is another big delusion. How many times have people joined groups and then the leader betrayed them? There's all these infightings, and it seems nice. It's just another form of illusion, and we can use it and come together and share information and teachings. I'm not qualified to teach anybody, but I can. What I can damn well do is say, I was in occultism. Now I'm not. This is why. You think about it yourself. Seek qualified teachers. Email me. I can deal with the most basic questions. In terms of magic, yes, I think I can help beyond a beginner. But that if that's community to you, fine. But I just be careful of having that desire. That's clinging. That is that Buddhist clinging to a desire, a delusion. Maybe you weren't allowed to join the group. You weren't picked to join the team in the gym class. You were the last one. I don't know. So now you have this need to be part of a group. You were rejected or something. I'm not saying you, but just be careful that a lot of that need can come from trying to heal childhood traumas and things like that. Buddhism is not about healing that. It's about solving the big problem by escaping all of it, being liberated from all of it. We can have these feelings, and we can have communities and family and love and enjoy that, but understand that is part of samsara, which is holding you back. That's where we have these guardrails as well, with compassion. Don't go to extremes. So from what you don't become a nihilist, like, oh, meaningless, it's all an illusion, I'll go and kill people because what's it matter? That's an extreme. Any extreme is just another form of illusion. You're taking something and you're clinging to it and you're expanding it so much, it creates terrible karma. We have karma as a guardrail. And if you go the other route, I'm going to help everybody. Well, then you can't help yourself. It's like you're on the plane that's crashing and the oxygen masks come down. You need the oxygen first so that you can help the others. So Buddhism is that balance between those extremes of pure altruism pure helping everybody, which doesn't work, and pure nihilism. The world is meaningless. So yeah, we are in that middle way. And I would take that with community. It sounds nice, but just be cautious. Don't cling to it. Find a teacher that I would recommend, some form of Buddhism. Me, I'm a very proactive person. I am, in terms of spirituality, I have all these experiences with supernatural things that fucking happen to me because I think of past lives. So am I going to just ignore all that and go to Pure Land Buddhism, where you just pray, you repeat the name of a Buddha, and go to not heaven, it's a Pure Land without distractions, where you can meditate uninterrupted, not like in this world, and reach enlightenment, and then you leave that Pure Land. So that doesn't suit me. I like rituals. I like imagery. I like pushing the boundaries. So the Tantra Buddhism for me is the framework. We use, I haven't been taught this. We use, Nicholas Schreck has said that this Pure Land is plan B. So in this life, if I fail to achieve enlightenment, I will be laying the way, so when I die, I can go to the Pure Land and do it there. So that's plan B of Buddhism for me. What else we have here? Rain Appreciator says that is good advice in terms of community, I think. Thank you. I'm definitely attached to the potential of hanging out with a bunch of other magicians in the woods. Yeah, you probably don't want to do that. You don't need them. Work with the gods. That's your focus. I would try to aim to be solitary in general with my magic, especially these days. You don't want to be associated here. Magic attracts psychopaths and weirdos, dangerous people too. And you don't want to get embroiled. You don't know what they're doing on the side. Be very cautious. So yeah, I would aim for just working with the gods. It's so my magic, I've shifted more to theurgy. Instead of believing it's basically coming from me, I'm changing it through my power, and I'm protected a little bit by these gods and whatever. Instead, I'm giving more to the gods and requesting help. I was afraid to do that, like, oh, I'm right-hand path. I'm begging for help. No, these are powers that we can connect with, and out of their compassion or anger, we can utilize their power, can help energize us, our magic, as long as it is toward the goal of liberation in the end. So anyway, Harvest Hex, I think the struggle is going to be bridging the gap on the grounds of supernatural experience. Well, yeah, I believe, Hex, as your karma through just meditation and following the Dharma, not hurting people, it's not hard, and helping people as much as you can. I personally think that people that find it difficult to have any supernatural experience or connection to the divine that shocks them, you might have karmic obstacles. Maybe. What's the big danger? What's the big drawback if you do try to be more helpful to others? Not saying that you're not, but even more so, to clear karma and start meditating a bit more. Let's say it doesn't open up doors and you're not having supernatural experiences. Are not a big deal. You don't need them. You don't be, that's just another thing to get fixated on. This world's illusion. So magic and supernatural shit can happen because it's not as solid as you think. So if right now you're not in this life, maybe you never have such experiences. But I would recommend, isn't it a good idea to understand your mind as best as possible, to have it as clear as possible and know how your mind works? Mind abiding mind. And those simple meditations I mentioned, you can look them up, or see versions of it on YouTube. Do that 10 minutes a day. Transform your life. You'll be shocked. And if it doesn't open up doors, hey, you know yourself better. Hey, you're more calm for the day. You can't lose. It's my suggestion. Harvest Hex, that makes a lot of sense. I'm for sure have had that experience of not being able to relate to someone else's deep spiritual experiences. Easier to relate with components of my own psyche. Again, here, when I mentioned I had suitcases flown across the room, slamming into doors and stomping demons, real stuff that, to be honest, it's just such a much more intense experience than these fake magicians on YouTube. It's just a little like, I just don't understand what people are making a big deal out of these guys for. They haven't experienced anything remotely dramatic that I did as a child. And they're making big deals out of things. Here's the thing. None of it matters. I encountered that, I think, because of my past lives. The veil between me and the spirit world is just a little closer than a lot of people because of my past lives and current karma, right? Does it help me? How did it help me? Well, it put me on this path to use magic, to use gods, to not be an atheist. So I must have earned that somewhere, right? I've got other areas of my life that are disasters. So we're all working on things. It's part of my responsibility to share it. Believe it or don't, it doesn't matter. But in the end, you don't need those experiences. The big goal is liberation. So what? As you go deeper, they're not important. And they could actually hurt you. I was harmed as well, messing around with goetic demons. Do not do it. Nicholas Schreck, do not mess with the Goetia. Do not mess with the Goetia in the Higher Latin. He doesn't know who those demons really are. He doesn't know what they fucking are. They will possess you. They will mess you up. And I tend to agree. I didn't exactly deal with the Goetia. Asmodeus was a huge problem for me, and it might still be. I don't think as much. But yeah, I had to deal with that for decades, for messing around with it. So it's double-sided. If you bring up an entity and you're exploring that side of reality for your own power or toward liberation even, those things can mess you up, man. It's not a game. It's not a joke. It's not a heavy metal poster. What's my opinion of the tarot? I wrote a book on the tarot. It's called Savage Tarot. You can find it on Amazon. I was really trying to sneak some deeper philosophy into it. Historically, the tarot was created by Duke Visconti in Milan during the Renaissance Italy. It is a product of Christian Renaissance. He had other decks that he created with spiritual themes, birds and Roman gods, things like that. The tarot was created by him to commemorate his family's rise to power. For example, the opponents of Duke Visconti were the De Toro, the Towers. That was the family name. And one of their family symbols was a tower with a flat top, a tower with flames shooting out of it. He had a relative, a female, she was a nun, and she broke off from the Catholic Church, and her followers wanted her to be the first female pope. And the Inquisition killed her. So she got incorporated in, I think after Duke Visconti died, into the family tarot cards. Um, so there's so many coincidences between Duke Visconti and the Trumps that and how it all works historically. I think he made that. It had no fortune telling ability, no mystical connection until centuries later, from the 1400s, and then nothing until the mid 1700s. Then during the Egyptian craze, when Napoleon went to Egypt and they were taking all these things, tarot is Egyptian. It's a secret code of all the wisdom lost in Egypt. It's a book of Thoth. And they took the minor cards and slammed that onto it. So it's a tool that can unlock things. I've used it. I'm a pretty damn good. I can read fortunes. I've done it. It does work. But you have to understand the origins are not as arcane as you think. So what's the hard part? I remain atheistic, not insofar as not being able to recognize anomalies, just that I doubt people can actually adequately explain those anomalies. Well, you can't explain them totally. They are if these gods did exist, they are beyond human tools. So our maps of the world are limited by what? Language. So what people have to understand, to get beyond language, we have to use paradox and mystical experience that can't be put into words. So if you have a view that if I can't put it into words, then it doesn't exist. Well, that's like saying, if it's not on hey, the mountain over there. No, the mountain's not on this map, so that can't exist. Nope. I'm going by the map. Fuck you. Obviously, human mind is limited. It's great, but already, it has its limits. When we're talking about things beyond human limits, we have to go beyond human language. And the first step I would say is poetry and experiences that you can't put into words, those deep mystical experiences, connecting to that and being open to it. So be critical, but open. And you can't explain it. That's the point. Do you know anything about Genesis P? Yeah, Genesis porridge. A little bit. And I believe, I've got a video, I think it's the first one here, occult militarism. So the idea was using occult to undermine the oppressive aspects of society. So I thought that's positive, and I've heard some of his music. But in the end, I would say the occult is a dead end because it's too DIY, to do it yourself in the end, and won't support you when the crap really hits the fan in life. Maybe I'm not atheistic, more non-theistic, I guess, but I don't think that has to make you an a-hole. No, it doesn't make you an a-hole. In Buddhism, the gods are not the ultimate thing. And there are versions of Buddhism that don't even use the gods. In Tibetan Buddhism, in Tantra and Left-Hand Path that I'm on, if they do exist, if they've helped people, even just with visions, there's techniques where you imagine you become a god or the Buddha, and that helps break away from your sense of self, which is an illusion, and inspire you to start acting like a Buddha. Fake it till you make it. So you can use it. If it's not useful to you, it's not necessary in other forms of Buddhism. But I'm just throwing that out there. Got kicked out of England in the early 90s after kids started telling music papers in the late 80s about what was happening. Yeah, are you talking about porridge? I don't know the details um, beyond what I've just mentioned. So, as you guys can hear, unfortunately, I did mention I'm a little unwell, but I wanted to hop on here and share what I've been thinking deeply about, share some changes about myself, and as you can hear, I'm about done. I think. I thank you all, and especially Rain Appreciator. I appreciate you for the $10. Um, if you have found this helpful in any way, or even challenging, and maybe you don't agree with it, but it made you think a little, please subscribe. Please like. If you're motivated to send money, I use that in positive ways. At the pub. No, anything from this channel, I will be um, using to help promote liberation and fighting against uh, these people that have perverted left-hand path, black magic. I come from there, so I know how to deal with it, and that's where I'm coming from. Um, Blessings to you all. May you find your own form of liberation. Um, think about what I've said. And if you want, email me, bradashlock@gmail.com. If you have any specific questions, or leave questions in the comments here. Unfortunately, I have to go. Um, thank you all again. And yeah, stay tuned for some more interesting content, hopefully. Be well.